I read 15 books in 23 minutes, and it revitalized my teaching career. Stay tuned so I can tell you how I did it, and as I discuss objectives, progressions, and intentions from book 15, which is Dunham Technique, A Way of Life. Let me get another sip of coffee. It's like really early in the morning here. Okay. I'm ready for this now. Welcome back to 23 Minute Reads with me, Maya D. This is my accountability vlog because in these videos, I share with you my takeaways from my current reading, which right now is this book right here. Book 15 of my 23 to 23 challenge, where I read 23 minutes per day, every day. So this is more like slow reading rather than speed reading. It's the opposite, right? And this is an act of self-love. It's a way of pouring into myself. It's a way of providing myself with some consistency in an ever-changing world. Well, this week I read pages 35 through the end, and let's get into these takeaways. So, get a little closer. Takeaway number 1 is objectives. Let me get my notes. Takeaway number 1 is objectives. And similar to Giving Life to Movement by Tamara Williams, which is one of the books from one of our earlier collections, this book is structured so that it gives you history of the person, in this case, Catherine Dunham, and the development of the movement form, the methodology, and then it describes the movement exercises. So it's kind of like a transcription of a dance class, which is both amazing and intense. It's amazing because the amount of detail it takes to capture all of that information. It's also intense because of the amount of detail that it takes to capture all of that information. One of the things that I liked about reading in this book is the objectives. Takeaway number 1, right? The objectives. Let me slow down. I think that like the coffee is still kind of like settling in and getting into my body. So I need to slow down and breathe. One of the things I found amazing was that in this book, they include the objectives. So we're not talking about those students will be able to objectives that some of us might remember from school or some other experiences. Let me give you an example. On page 66, we find these words. There are several objectives of this movement. 1 is height, maintaining the correct body alignment with the leg at its peak, ... So it goes on. And I felt that embedding the objectives into the exercise helped me to better understand the function of the actual exercise. So I'm not just a non-thinking body performing this exercise because someone said it to, but I understand why and what the goals, the objectives of that exercise is. And that makes sense. It connects to form and function, which was discussed in last week's video, which is dope because we see that the methodology, that form and function play out in the movement, but also in the writing, in that description of how the exercise is performed and why it's performed, which has, it all makes sense because the book is called Dunham Technique, A Way of Life, right? So it's not just how you perform the movement, it's the why, it's everything. It includes stuff off of the dance floor. That makes sense. Took me a while to absorb it, but that all makes sense. Takeaway number 2 is intersections. And this kind of connects to that last statement, that way of life statement. The methodology informs the way you approach the movement. It informs the way you write about the movement, and it also informs the structure of the class. On page 94, we find these words. Progression in cultural context is the fusion of what she needed to train her dancers, end quote. Dunham encountered many dance forms and concepts in her life, and through her anthropological lens was then able to observe it, analyze it, apply it, and innovate on it. The progression work is a site of intersection because it's where you see the methodology via deconstruction and innovation, where dancers are physically traveling across the space, right? So physically progressing, but also mentally progressing because the dancing body is the thinking body. So in their minds, they are learning new ways to inhabit, new perspectives of how a body can inhabit and move, navigate through space. So their mind is progressing too, which has the potential to push an individual forward, push a community forward, and push society forward. So progressions on so many different levels. Like this is it's deep. It's deep and it's interesting. It's deep and it's interesting. Takeaway number 3 is intention. I've heard and read in several spaces that Dunham's intention was to raise the value of social dance forms and dance forms that have history or are connected to the African diaspora. What I'm coming to understand is how intention informs impact and leads to legacy, because I'm better understanding how her work has both directly and indirectly, let me try that again. I'm understanding how her work has both directly and indirectly impacted my life as a dancer and as a scholar. This Dunham technique, way of life, is only one of the books, and it's an earlier book, and it still feels like this gentle push, this urge, this like motivation, encouragement for me to go further. So my aspirations of becoming a certified Dunham instructor have intensified via reading this book. And I could say like some other stuff, but I really want to know, like, what are your thoughts? What are your experiences with either Dr. Catherine Dunham or Dunham technique? What are you like? Yeah. What are your experiences? Drop them in the comments below. You could also drop a book suggestion because I finished this book. Or you could just drop a book emoji so that I know that you're here with me. Wow. I read 15 books. That's kind of crazy. That's, I guess, not crazy because it was intentional. Look at that. Look at that. I read 15 books between January of 2022 and now we're in December of 2023. So I'm at that point where I'm thinking like, what am I going to do next? And I'm actually going to take it up a notch. My next video will be a TBR, to be read, because I'm going to introduce some of the books that I will be reading as of January of 2024, where I'm starting my 26 to 26, which is going to be me reading 26 minutes per day from January of 2024 through to December of 2026. And I want to have that TBR so that you can kind of have like a leg up on what's coming, what I'll be reading, and ideally join me. I do have experience as a dance educator, decades of experience as a dancer, a dance educator, and a curriculum writer, but I am no way the know-all be-all for these books. I'm just wanting to provide a space for all of us to grow. So make sure you join me along in that journey. Make sure you subscribe, that you stay tuned for that TBR. Join me in this 26 to 26. Yeah, let's grow and get smarter and do all of those wonderful things together. My name is Maya D. This has been 23 Minute Reads, and stay tuned, stay blessed, spread a good word, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.